In a landmark judgment, the Supreme Court has annulled the electoral bond scheme for political funding. In a unanimous verdict, the apex court has struck down the scheme, terming it unconstitutional. The five-judge bench of the Supreme Court said that electoral bond scheme infringes upon the right to information and concedes possible quid pro quo. The court has also said that curbing black money and ensuring anonymity of donors cannot be a defense for the electoral bond scheme at the expense of the need for transparency in political funding. In its verdict, months ahead of the Lok Sabha polls, the apex court ordered the State Bank of India to disclose to the Election Commission the names of the contributors to the 6-year-old scheme. Supreme Court has directed that SBI must disclose details of each electoral bond encashed by political parties. Complete information about who purchased the bonds, who encashed the bonds has to be submitted to the Election Commission by the 6th of March. EC will then have to display on its website so that people come to know who purchased these bonds.
They have held that this violates the fundamental right to information of citizens to know about who is contributing this much money to political parties, etc. So they have also directed the State Bank of India to furnish complete information about who purchased the bonds, who encashed the bonds. And all this information will have to be submitted to the Election Commission, who will have to display it on a public website so that the people come to know who purchased the bonds and who contributed by way of electoral bonds to which political party.
The Congress has welcomed this decision of the Supreme Court, with Party President Kharge saying he hopes the government will stop resorting to opaque and undemocratic schemes in the future, calling it Modi government's black money conversion scheme. He's also said the ruling party should ensure democracy, transparency and a level playing field persists. Former Congress President Rahul Gandhi has said that the verdict is evidence of Prime Minister Modi's corrupt policies. At the receiving end of opposition's jubilation, the BJP has accused opposition parties of politicizing the issue. BJP MP Ravi Shankar Prasad has said that the sole objective of bringing the scheme was to bring in more transparency to the process of donations and to protect the identity of donors.
जो 95% इलेक्टोरल बॉन्ड्स का पैसा एक पार्टी यानी कि भारतीय जनता पार्टी को मिला, हम भी ये जानना चाहते हैं, देश भी ये जानना चाहता है कि उस एवज में आपने क्या हवाई अड्डे बेचे हैं, आपने क्या कोयले की खानें बेची हैं, आपने क्या किया है, या एमएलए खरीदे हैं या नए सूट सिलवाए हैं, ये जानने का हक हम सबको है, या नए हवाई जहाज खरीदे हैं, हमें नहीं मालूम आपने क्या खरीदा। 95% यानी कि 5,200 करोड़ रुपए भारतीय जनता पार्टी के अकेले के खाते में इलेक्टोरल बॉन्ड से आया। हमारी मांग है, ये सीधा सीधा भ्रष्टाचार का मामला है।
This decision was undertaken for a very laudable objective to bring in transparency in electoral funding. चुनाव में कैश का प्रभाव कम हो उसके लिए भी लाया गया था। हमारे जितने चंदा देने वाले लोग हैं उनकी अपेक्षा थी कि अगर उचित होगा कि हमारी भी गोपनीयता रखी जाए।
Watching the new hour at 10, debate number 2 on Times Now, Super Prime Time.
Professor Manojit Mandal continue to be with us from debate number 1. But joining us on the panel are Sanjay Jha, author. With us also is Desh Ratan Nigam, lawyer. Rajat Sethi, author and economist, also joining us on broadcast. Rajat, I'm going to ask you a simple question. The government, when it brought in scheme, said it's to protect identity of the donors. Supreme Court has very clearly said this is against the concept of transparency and that it is violative of the right of the citizens to know that which political party has received contributions from whom.
It is very respectfully for the Honorable Supreme Court. What I don't understand is that will the system prior to electoral bonds was, a panacea for right to information? Were the citizens aware as to who was funding the political parties prior to the electoral bonds? A genuine question to the Honorable Supreme Court. Or after striking down the electoral bonds, from tomorrow onwards, will we have like a complete picture as to which party is getting funds from which source? I was hearing Pawan Khera, who was blatantly lying. I mean, you lie, you do your politics is one thing, all politicians lie. But you lie through your teeth. Congress government has also, Congress party also got 1100 crore rupees of electoral bonds related election funding. Was there a quid pro quo in that in 1100 crore rupees? I genuinely want to understand which was the donors who were paying and what quid pro quo Congress party entered into. See, essentially what has happened is the scenario you've thrown the baby out of the bathwater along with the bathwater. Here, the bigger problem is that the Supreme Court did not solve anything, virtually anything in the system that was functional or the objectives that the Supreme Court wanted to achieve out of it.
Okay.
Instead, I think only tinkering that the Supreme Court could have ideally done is to take the information out of the SBI and put it into the hands of a constitutionally independent authority or a body, which could be Election Commission, RBI, or even the Supreme Court.
We have limited time. There are a number of things the Supreme Court could have done, says Rajat Sethi. But the question that he asks is this. He says that perhaps the electoral bond system wasn't perfect. But the system before that wasn't perfect either. Sanjay Jha.
Madhav, this is disingenuous and this is disinformation. And I'll tell you why. The Supreme Court has saved India's democracy. And today, I think we should all thank the Supreme Court and the Chief Justice of India for having actually told his government that they were blatantly indulging and manipulating our democracy to suit themselves. What did this government, Madhav, say to the Supreme Court? They went and told the Supreme Court that the people of India, Madhav, you, me, and all your viewers, we don't have the right to know who funds political parties. I mean, this is an open and a complete blatant subversion of democracy. They said, who funds political parties? The people of India don't have right to know. And guess what the black money issue is? The RBI warned this government that number one, when you remove the cap on political funding, number two, you allow foreign monies to come in, and third, when the company is not allowed to disclose the names of the political party they've funded, that you are creating an environment for money laundering. And here is the question to BJP. Why were they trying to hide the anonymity or rather the identity of the donors by keeping them anonymous? What is the real reason behind that fear? And I will tell you, we have to wait for a couple of weeks. And the people of India should know if the donors who have contributed to the BJP have got government contracts with coal, mining, or airports, it will have to be investigated.
What 1100?
Let me bring. We have limited time, gentlemen. I want Deshrata again to comment on this. Deshrata Nigam, the opposition repeatedly says that 57% of the donations through the electoral bond scheme have gone to the BJP. While it might be true for opposition parties as well, an overwhelming amount of the scheme or the benefits of the scheme have been accrued by BJP, and therefore they say that once the names comes out, Sanjay Jha at least demanding that whichever corporates may be involved or individuals involved should be investigated. That's his charge. Please respond to it.
Let us make it very clear. It has always been a trend. The party in power gets the maximum, donations, political funding. And that was the case with the Congress in 2014. And when people, donate, what they look at, whether it is corporate or individual, they look at the stability of the government, their policies on the national security, and so on and so forth. This is how people, make up their mind. And if the opposition party are not getting it, then it is for the people to decide. And now let me come to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court, it's laudable that they want it to be transparent, but after demolishing this scheme, where are we now? Now what? We go back to the old system because there is no law at this point of time to regulate election funding. We go back to the cash, where cash is thrown in elections. The cash was actually quite rampant prior to this particular scheme. So this scheme was certainly better than the previous one. However, nobody is saying it's a perfect scheme. What I thought the Supreme Court could have done, could have requested the government to frame a new law on the subject. Till then, they would have continued with the scheme. Otherwise, what is happening? We have gone back to the dark days where the cash was being considered for funding. The black money that would be there. So now what? That is what we have to apply. Supreme Court has dealt with the past, but the present and future has been left unregulated so far as this funding of elections is concerned. So this
Right.
is where my whole worry is there.
Okay, it was meant to solve the problem of poll funding. And Professor Monojit Mandal, if we can quickly pull up that graphic there, you know, the BJP right on top of the table. There is Congress, about a few thousand crores below that. But very interesting to see that TMC is the third largest party that has perhaps benefited in terms of the funds available from this scheme. So at the end of the day, if the scheme was so bad, why is it that so many opposition parties were also subscribing to the same scheme? Whereas the left at least has not taken advantage of that.
Can be, someone can be jealous of TS's rise as a political party, but I think let us have this challenge. Let BJP show their donors. TMC will also show their donors. Accept this challenge. That's what Mr. Jha is also talking about. So if you have nothing to hide, 5,200 crores donation, show the people who have donated the money.
No, that the Supreme Court is anyway going to do. That the Supreme Court has ordered. I don't think that's even a subject of debate because they have told SBI to provide the names to the ECI and by 31st March it will come out. That's going to happen in any case.
The political TMC is a political party. When it comes to transparency, they're the most transparent party in this country. And our leader, General Secretary Abhishek Banerjee, being an MP, come to Diamond Harbour constituency will show that each and every paisa is given to the people or taken from the people as donation will be estimated in front of the people.
Okay, so is this about transparency? Both sides say it's about transparency, the government as well as opposition. Which side is right, we certainly we don't know for sure. But fact is that the Supreme Court has spoken today. It is a scheme that was much spoken about, extremely controversial. The Election Commission, RBI had all raised certain concerns about this particular scheme, and perhaps at some level or the other, Supreme Court has taken those concerns into note while striking down the electoral bond scheme. All eyes, of course, on the fact that this will have, if any, on the Lok Sabha post coming up in the next few months. Thanks so much, Newshour Agenda, Rajat Sethi, Sanjay Jha, as well as Professor Mandal for joining us this evening.